Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. And I'm not usually the news, but we have to talk about some censorship and a Spotify issue. And I'm asking for your help. So we have to, a lot of people email me. I get 2 or 3 emails a month saying, hey, I'm trying to sign up on Spotify and it tells me that my credit card doesn't work. And I'll show you an example. And if you could send in a screenshot of that happening, that would be just wonderful, because I'm trying to figure out if it's the bank doing it or if it's Spotify doing it. Where is the breakdown? Because there is a breakdown. Something's going on. And I've even had one person last month, message me and say, hey, I've got you on like a recurring subscription on Spotify. And last month, they said that the card didn't work, but my card works. And I don't know why that happened. It's been fine. And now it didn't work. And so there's something going on and I don't know where the problem is. And I'd like your help in solving it. So if you do try and sign up for the show, no pressure or anything like that, but you can head over and sign up on Spotify. My website seems to work. I haven't got reports of people trying to sign up on my website and it not working. So my site seems to work. Other places seem to work okay. Spotify, hit or miss, and mostly miss. So if you can send an image for me to hold them accountable, that would be great. Don't send personal information or black out the credit card and stuff like that if you can. And if not, I will black out that information. But man, it's a weird thing, and something I'm trying to take an active stance in fighting against, because I don't think it's appropriate, and I think what's happening is actionable. So I'm going to start actioning it. Russia war is amping up again, and we'll see what's going on with that. New sanctions and things like that, but they're ineffective because BRICS and Russia's built a parallel economy that ignores the G7 basically, because the G7 acted stupidly and are still acting stupidly even under Trump. Carney and Polyev had to sit down to talk about the budget, and Polyev came out looking like the cat who ate the canary, and people are interpreting that as more signals that we're going to an election soon. So maybe we'll see, but it doesn't matter because uniparty and China, right? And we don't have any information about China and the Chinese interference, et cetera, et cetera. The elections are rigged, and maybe people are saying Carney can't handle this and we're going to pass off to Polyev. I don't know. Maybe Polyev's not a globalist, but the party itself is a globalist party. So they'll be able to manage Polyev, and he's got a more sellable face. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but there's unease in Canadian politics, and there's a lot of rumors flying around about a snap election before Christmas. So if that happens, then all of these bills die on paper, which is fine. We'll see. We'll see. With the censorship, the problem is Carney wants to get a majority, and the elections are rigged at China. So all sorts of problems there. New mayor of Edmonton is into 15-minute cities. So he's a Democrat. He's probably into all sorts of other weird things too. New net zero geoengineering and contrails. Lee Zeldin wants to release everything. So your average American will have access to all of the information that the Secretary of the Environment, or whatever Lee Zeldin's position is, all of the information he has, he wants to release to the public to let everybody know exactly what's going on with geoengineering. I've got that video for you this morning. He's just announcing that they're going to release it. There isn't anything to talk about this morning other than we're going to have lots of comprehensive confirmation from the secretary of whatever Lee Zeldin is the secretary of. So that's interesting. We'll see. We'll see, man, because I'd love to be like super enthusiastic, but man, I've kicked that football one too many times. Carney is rewriting history, and not in a historic leadership kind of way. He's not rewriting history like Trump's rewriting history. He's rewriting history like talking about Canadian history in a way that is just false and like provably false. So, whatever. Weird, but whatever. And John Rustad's executive team asks him to leave. So, hey, John, you're fired. Get out, buddy. See you later. We don't want you around anymore, because everybody's leaving the party, and the party's going to completely collapse if you stick around. See you later, John. So that's interesting. But yesterday evening, so there's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. Yesterday evening, Mark Carney did a campaign kicking off style speech, except he's going on a trip to Asia for like 9 days. But the Stump speech was boring. He didn't say in it. There wasn't a time where I thought to myself, he's got the again. So he has been doing heavy speech training to make sure that he's at least as good as me. And I'm not very good. I say too. But he has removed the from his speech. I'm sure he's very proud of that. It's unfortunate that in order to do that, he had to destroy Canada. Darn it, right? Like, shucks. I think I'd have the back and remove Carney as the prime minister, but oh well. Alex is referring to the weak Stump speech. It's a tired Stump speech we've heard all before. If this is a election kickoff, it's a tepid one, right? Very, very weak. Alex says national addresses should be reserved for emergency purposes, not for an opportunistic photo op before leaving town. Mark Carney says, our plan to build Canada strong 6 months after I won election and haven't done anything since. Cool, right? Bureaucracies, you like bureaucracies? We've added some bureaucracy to your bureaucracy. It's like he's on Pimp My Ride. Gov.exe is corrupt says, Mark Carney said life has only gotten better for Canadians since he became prime minister, and people are making more than ever. This is the same government that said Canadians are struggling and need a permanent national school food program. So which one is it? Are Canadians better off and making a better life and more than ever and so on? Or are people struggling? And I think people are struggling. I still think a national school food program is a terrible idea because they're going to use that to train the kids to eat halal, or they're going to use that to train the kids to eat cricket flour, or they're going to use that to train the kids to eat all sorts of green initiative garbage that nobody wants. And to be fair, I don't think that chocolate cereal belongs in school either, despite my affinity for it. It's not one of those things that I think, oh yeah, feed the kids chocolate cereal. But you have to give them good food. Like, you have to give them great food. You have to give them food that is fun. You have to give them food that is delicious, more delicious than fun. But think poutine, right? And chicken strips and things that kids will eat, but are also healthy. And you can do them in healthy ways. You don't have to have garbage chicken strips. You don't have to have garbage poutine. But I loved poutine when I was a kid. And by kid, I mean a high school kid at the cafeteria. That was what everybody got. And then there was a pizza shop that opened not very far away from the school. So my friend and I stopped going to the caf and started going to the pizza shop. But my buddy would get poutine once a week. Once a week, he'd always have poutine. He loved that. The gravy was great. And so, like, you have to deliver what the customer base wants, and high school kids are going to want something different than 40-year-old white women, right? At a conference or something like that. But you can still make delicious sandwiches. You can still put great things together in the cafeterias, right? That are necessary, without compromising. Without, you can have food in schools without using it as an indoctrination tool. But these guys are going to use it as an indoctrination tool, and I don't like it. So there. When I was a kid, I did not use the cafeteria to my benefit. I would not eat breakfast. I refused breakfast at my house because my dad would buy cornflakes, which really aren't that bad. Like, cornflakes are actually pretty okay. I've had them recently, but I had one too many bowls of cornflakes when I was a kid, and I said, no way, Dad, I'm not eating cornflakes anymore. I'm going to leave the house without breakfast. And I had a job since I was like 10 years old or something like that. And I don't say that with malice or anything like that. I say that to say I had money. And so I would put money in my pocket. And at the time, you could get 2 slices of pizza and a pop for $3. And I was like, this is great. And then he upped it to $3.25. And we were salty about that one. I was like, $3.25? Are you kidding me? And he said, for you guys, it's $3. I put his kids through school, I tell you. But we would go to the pizza place. So kids can eat, and kids should be able to figure it out. And if the pizza was made with cricket flour, I wouldn't have gone there. Anyway, back to modern times. CBC Watcher says the Carney economic agenda is a long and emerging list of interventions in the belief that the state is the entrepreneurial control of economic activity. If the state is there, it's not capitalism. Free market creative destruction is being replaced. Free market creative destruction is Ford stops offering things that people want, like electric Ford F-150s, and another company rises because Ford falls. And then that creative destruction, this company is offering, something that would compete with a Ford F-350, but it's the same price as, a little Honda Civic or something like that. That kind of creative destruction is being disallowed because the state is involved, and the state subsidizes all these things that nobody wants. And this leads to car graveyards and things like that, right? So it's not being allowed. And I just wanted you to understand what free market creative destruction is, because it's kind of important to this. That's being replaced by statist destructive creationism. Federal intervention plans seem to expand almost daily. Industry Minister Mel Joly told Financial Times of London last weekend that Ottawa has plans to ride a wave of economic nationalism and somehow cajole Canada's $3 trillion in pension systems to invest more in Canada, a move Paul Beaudry, former deputy governor of the Bank of Canada, said was very dangerous and risked creating a type of crony capitalism. Canada exists because of crony capitalism. That's the only thing we do. Ryan says tonight Carney gave a strange history lesson on his life, a campaign speech, and a pat on the back for the last 6 months in office. So this was it was kind of a meandering speech. It didn't have anything to do with anything. He just talked about certain things for half an hour, and he did a poor job of it, but he didn't say not too much. Watch me be proven a liar here. This part of the speech, is where everyone in Canada is screwed. He can use the Indigenous to blame projects from never being started, and he will tax companies and businesses who don't conform to his ideological green emissions-free utopia. There's no such thing as being more competitive if you become a green company. That is made up nonsense to make him and his globalist friends rich. They want everything tied to carbon, and we are one of the test countries. So here's just a minute and a bit of Carney. Here we go.
Now, it's not just what we build, it's also how we build. We will build inclusively in full partnership with Indigenous peoples, First Nations, Inuit, and Métis, every step of the way. We will build in solidarity with workers, creating good union jobs. And Budget 2025 will introduce our climate competitiveness strategy. With a focus on results over objectives, on investments over prohibition, we will build sustainably. Le budget va contenir une nouvelle stratégie.
The budget will contain a new strategy to build sustainably and competitively for Canada's future. We will focus on results rather than targets. We will focus on investment rather than prohibitions. We will build sustainably by focusing on energy, transportation, homes, and low-emission manufacturing to strengthen our competitiveness, because reducing greenhouse gas emissions is not only a moral duty, it is also an economic imperative.
We recognize that in today's global economy, we have to build sustainably. It's not just a moral duty, it's also an economic imperative. It is a moral duty, but it's an economic imperative. Now, above all, we will build Canadian. The new security threats the world is bringing to our shores means we're making the biggest investments in our military.
He spent a long time going over, and you should really watch. I watched it in 2.5 times speed because I can listen to that now, and it sounds like 2x used to. And so he spent a lot of time talking about how the relationship with the Americans has changed, and we can't rely on the Americans. And he really put a fine point on that and tried to sell the idea that we can move our economic activity from the United States to Europe or anything like that. And the green stuff was a big part of the speech as well. Ryan is responding to this. He says, any politician who ties our economic prosperity to climate change is a criminal, in my opinion. They are complicit in our continued downfall and destruction of our quality of life. Climate change is a hoax. It is designed to take your money, and if we allow the politicians to use it as an excuse to tax us and as an excuse for bad policies, then more fool us. We should stop them. We should say absolutely not. And if you want to go down this path, go there by yourself. You can spend your own money, buddy. You've got tons of it. Spend it all you want on green initiatives, but don't use our tax dollars and don't use bad policies to do it. But unfortunately, we are... I don't think we're in the minority, but we don't have the reins of power at this point in time. Here is Marty, and he says, this is the group Carney quoted in the House today. He said they were independent. And Andy Lee from February 9th, 2024 says, we found another headquarters for the Canadian Climate Institute registered at 192 Spadina Ave. The suite's empty, right? The charity received $30 million from the federal government, yet CRI filings show $0 allocated to charity work. So these people are putting out reports for people who pay them, and the people who pay them are in our government. So they're putting out reports so the government can take more control and power, and the reports justify the continued taking of the control and power by the government. CBC Watcher says a truck manufacturing plant in Quebec. So we just had the truck manufacturing Bright Spot or Bright Bolt or something like that in southwestern Ontario. That just went, and Doug Ford says, we're going to sue him. And the next day, this happens. A truck manufacturer plant in Quebec, in St. Teresa, Quebec, just north of Montreal, where we're getting news that 300 jobs are being eliminated. We should point out that not only does the facility manufacture light and medium Peterbilt trucks, also known as Kenworth trucks, this plant has laid off workers previously this year as a result of the trade uncertainty. So absolute economic destruction. Carney says, oh, look at how much good we've done in the last 6 months. Nope. Absolute lies. Nothing is true from this man's mouth. Gov.exe is responding to this. He says, Budget 25 is about making life affordable, getting immigration under control, and helping newcomers succeed. What about the people who live here and built this country? Meanwhile, says gov.exe. Those of us who lived here all our lives are getting gouged by taxes as services crumble. Canada is a third world country with a fifth world government. Yep, it's pretty brutal. Here is Jasmine, and she says, Prime Minister Carney says Canada's public square is fragmented by online echo chambers. And he says the world is a more dangerous place, and we're on our own, and all sorts of other nonsense.
Our public square is fragmented by online echo chambers, where truth and fiction can be hard to tell apart, and where contrasting ideas tend to polarize, not persuade. Now,
I would like to persuade you to read deeply about any story you're interested in. Don't take my word for it, right? And this guy's talking about polarizing people, but he drives wedges. Polarizing people means, pushing people apart, but he drives wedges to push people apart. This show is meant to make people think, make people question some things that they've taken for granted or maybe not thought about too much, and to poke fun at these ridiculous people who think we're stupid. Like, no, buddy, I'm not listening to you. You can't even brush your teeth.
In the context of all this, as Canadians, we have relearned some key lessons over the course of the past year. First, we have to take care of ourselves because we can't rely on one foreign partner.
That one foreign partner we have a better deal with than anybody else. And if that one foreign partner pulled the rug on us, we'd be economically destitute in like 3 days. It would be a depression, like Doug Ford would lose his mind. It would be insane. So what he's doing is very, very, very dangerous, very dangerous. And Trump, I don't think would do it because it would harm too many people in Canada, and Trump would feel that on his conscience, I think. But he would have the power to destroy Canada, and Carney's daring him to, giving him all the reasons to. Cat Canada says, long before Confederation, our country was forged by Indigenous peoples. Nope. This is reimagining history. Canada was not a cohesive country when European settlers came and settled it and built the country we live in now. And it was a collaborative effort, and the First Nation tribes ceded their land. And if you don't believe that, well, you need to read some history, because history belies your belief. Here's Carney talking, reimagining history. We should not listen to liars, right? And I show this to you because he's a liar, and he's lying. He's using the apparatus of the state, a broadcast to all of Canada, to lie to you, to reimagine the truth, to reimagine history. This is not appropriate for a prime minister.
Long before Confederation, our country was forged by Indigenous peoples. Coureurs de bois and voyageurs who mapped this continent and built vast trading networks from coast to coast to coast before the Americans had even left St. Louis.
Nope. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Just totally reimagining history. Here's the new mayor of Edmonton. He's a 15-minute city fan. Wild. Absolutely wild. I want to talk about the BC NDP, but I'm worried that I'm not going to get through the BC NDP and be able to do my digital ID stuff. I want to show you this. So apologies. This is on the free show because the free show people are likely to maybe sign up for the show. So if you want to sign up for CanadaPoly.com, please go and try to do it on Spotify. And if it fails, when it fails, because it's going to fail for you, take a screenshot, and the screenshot will just look like this. And like I blacked out the private information here so I could share it, but the screenshot looks like this. It just says, unable to process this card. Please double check your information and try again. And so what's happening? I thought maybe it was the bank, because I've heard people say I called into the bank and I was able to have them process the $4.99 or whatever. And so I thought maybe it was the bank blocking this, but I talked to the Spotify people, and they didn't have a record of this, if you can believe it. They did not have a record of this transaction at all. I said to the person who sent this in, I said, I'm going to contact the support people and just talk to them about what's going on. Is that okay? And he was like, yeah, man, whatever. And so be aware that I'm going to use these screenshots to tell Spotify about and I think it's censorship, but I don't know where the censorship's happening. And I thought it was the bank, but if Spotify doesn't even have a record of this, then it might be Spotify, right? Because I run e-commerce. I run e-commerce stores for businesses, okay? And if you have a failed transaction, I get an email. I can go into the transaction and look at the failed transaction. It gives me a code for why the transaction failed. I can contact the bank for more information about the transaction. So these people in the Spotify support people are sandbagging me. They're not telling me all of the information. I said, you know how many failed orders I have. Can you look at those failed orders? Can you see this failed order? And they're like, we can't see this failed order. And I said, bullshit, but okay. But I want some ammunition to come back to them and say, hey, and like, this isn't a ploy to boost my subscription, but it's totally going to boost my subscription. Maybe, I don't know. But if you are thinking about joining the full show, check it out on Spotify, and please send me when it fails, because I'm trying to figure out what's happening, and I'm going to write it up. I'm going to write up like, this is what's happening, and I feel like it's soft censorship. So we'll see what's happening, and I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong too. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just 1 or 2 people a month who put in the wrong information and they email me. But it happens enough that I'm like, this is weird. So, and if it works, please let me know as well, because my subscriptions are pretty static on Spotify. So I don't know, but people seem to like Spotify. So I used to get emails a lot when I didn't have Spotify. Now that I've got Spotify, I get emails that they can't subscribe on Spotify. Adamental Politics says, it's true, digital ID is here in Canada right now. I just checked my CRA and I was able to log in without doing this. But what's going on is this screenshot here. It says, my friend sent me this. People get off your butt and go in person to the government office and get those people off their butts to help you. This person went to Service Canada account and they've changed it. In order for you to go forward to see your info, you need to read the new terms and conditions and also need to tick a box saying I consent to digital ID verification to move forward. Be aware, the government is so sneaky. No, thank you. If I don't tick this off, I can't see my CPP or OAS. I would just stop sending in CPP and OAS. Or if you want CPP and OAS, maybe what you do is you stop them taking it off your paycheck by telling your payroll, stop taking taxes off my paycheck, and then invest the money that you would be putting into CPP and the other one into the stock market or something like that, or buy crypto or something like that. Consistently, like, put it away for your retirement and watch it compound. But if the government said you can't access your taxes without a digital ID, it would take nothing for me to say, okay, see you later. I'm not going to access my taxes then. And when you guys realize how stupid you are, it'll be too late. So, I mean, that's fine by me. Here is Wide Awake Media, and they're sharing this. To enter or leave this school, Chinese school children must verify their mandatory digital ID via facial recognition cameras. If they roll this out, that's it, dog. I already have a loose idea of how to start an independent, like a school outside of the regular system. And this would just push me over the edge. So, yeah, no. I'm not going to participate in this crap. Absolutely not. James says a very, very powerful words from David Davis, who tears apart Keir Starmer's mandatory digital ID. Here we go.
David Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In view of the short timing, I'll focus solely on the scandalously insecure nature of the one login procedure. And I'm writing, I should tell the House, I'm writing to the National Audit Office to ask them to investigate it, because apart from the strategic weakness of having a single login, the government's handling of this has been a disaster. As early as 2022, the Information Assurance team responsible for ensuring the security of the system raised concerns that the system was being developed on unsecure workstations by contractors without the security clearance in Romania. When they ran a red team operation to try and see how secure it was, they broke into the system easily, would have been able to put malware in them, and they weren't even detected by the people running the system. So what will happen when this system comes into effect is the entire population's entire data will be open to malevolent actors, foreign nations, ransomware criminals, malevolent hackers, just their own personal enemies even, political enemies. And as a result, this will be worse than the Horizon scandal.
Yeah. Oh, I meant to look up the Horizon scandal before the show, so apologies. I won't ask ChatGPT, it'll just spin lies. So here is Robbie Starbuck, and he says, huge news, I'm suing Google today. What you're about to see is insane. So this is titled Google is a-hole on CanadaReport.co if you're interested in watching this. It's a 30-minute documentary going over what Robbie Starbuck is alleging here, but this is pretty wild stuff. Since 2023, Google AI, Bard, Gemini, and Gemma have been defaming me with fake criminal allegations, including sexual assault, child rape, abuse, fraud, stalking, drug charges, and even saying I was in Epstein's flight logs. All 100% fake, all generated by Google's AI. I have zero criminal record or allegations. So why did Google do it? Google's AI says that I was targeted because of my political views. Even worse, Google execs knew for 2 years that this was happening because I told them, and my lawyers sent cease and desist letters many times. This morning, my team filed a lawsuit against Google, and now I'm going public with all the receipts because this can't ever happen to anyone else again. Google AI didn't just lie, it built fake worlds to make it look its lies look real. Fake victims, fake therapy records, fake court records, fake police records, fake relationships, fake news stories. It even fabricated statements denouncing me from President Trump, Elon Musk, and J.D. Vance over sexual assaults that Google completely invented. One of the most dystopian things I've ever seen is how dedicated their AI was to doubling down on the lies. Google's AI routinely cited fake sources by creating fake links to real media outlets and shows, complete with fake headlines so readers wouldn't trust information. It would continue to do this even if you called the AI out for lying or sending fake links. In short, it was creating fake legacy media reports as a way to launder trust with users so they would believe elaborate lies that it told. That's pretty scary. That's pretty scary stuff. I have to say goodbye to the stream, but we're going to talk about the BC NDP and what's going on in BC, because one BC is going hard after all of the just terrible politicians and terrible everything that's been going on in the whole country. But this is the first party really, I think, coming out swinging. I would say Dallas Brody is stronger than Danielle Smith, and I believe her more than I believe Danielle Smith. I haven't once thought to myself, what's your game, Dallas Brody? And Danielle Smith, she came on with big fanfare, but I don't know, man. Right from the get-go, I was like, I don't know about this. Anyway, here's just a little bit of Dallas Brody talking about the NDP just said 50% of Canadians are racist for wanting to deport migrants who are here illegally. That's pretty wild.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since the NDP formed government in 2017, it has flooded 1 million immigrants into British Columbia. The excess population has driven wages of BC workers down. It has surged demand for a healthcare system with ER wait times reaching 14 hours. 1 million British Columbians don't even have a family doctor. Housing is unaffordable. Schools are crowded and teachers are overwhelmed. The Premier has admitted that the temporary foreign worker program has negatively impacted our economy and our social fabric. Mr. Speaker, will the Premier get on the phone today and demand that Mark Carney immediately suspend all immigration to British Columbia?
Minister of Jobs and Economic Growth.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. Again, won't be surprised at this House because we've been discussing this for over 3 years, whether it's the Premier, whether it was myself when I was the Minister of Housing. We were advocating to the federal government to ensure that we have immigration numbers that align with the social services we have, with housing that we have in our communities. And we were doing that because, A, we want to make sure people here are set up for success, but we also want to make sure that the people that we're welcoming, the talent from around the world that we're welcoming here, have a chance to have the same quality of life that we all want for our kids. It's not fair.
They get to have the quality of life that we want for our kids? They're just getting here. Like, what are you talking about? They've got to figure their stuff out for themselves. No. And sorry that we're not going to get to the racist part, but it's a 5 minute and 21 second thing. And here's a meme that covers it. Tara says, end mass migration, suspend immigration into British Columbia, 1 BC. Hard hitting, man. How is it just a simple image of a politician with simple words like suspend immigration into British Columbia is so hard hitting and so impactful, but it is. It is. Here's 1 BC, Dallas Brody. Will you deport criminal migrants? NDP, you're racist. Is this? No, it's not. This is the... I should have found the timestamp, but apologies that I didn't. I'll try and have it for you tomorrow, but I also might not. Here is one more, and then I've got to kill the stream. Tara says the COVID vaccine mandates were unscientific and unnecessary. Again, hitting hard. Where's the Conservative Party in Ontario that's hitting hard? Because I don't see one, and Doug Ford is a Liberal. So anyway, we've got to say goodbye to the stream. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want to catch the whole show, head over to CanadaPoly.com or Spotify. And when Spotify fails, head over to CanadaPoly.com after sending me a screenshot.